Hey, how's it going? Excuse me. Sorry about that. I missed a day, maybe two. Um, I don't know. I got ready to do it. I got pulled cards and set up to record, and then just I don't know, just couldn't do it. Couldn't continue to go forward. So but I kept the cards. So I pulled one from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, and it is number, what is it, 40? Number 40, Mindful. You see that's actually two words. And the subtitle was Groupthink. And if you look at the illustration on the card, as I did, I saw a jumble of things that is like familiar objects, but it's kind of hard to get a grip on exactly what you're looking at, like trying to focus on any single item. And I'm not sure what it is, if it's like just distracting or that it looks both blurry and unclear, but if you focus on something, it becomes clear. So I'm like really impressed that she was able to, the artist Kim Kranz, or this is not, wrong artist, wrong deck. This artist was the print is really small. I'll put it in the information box, the artist for this deck. I lost it. I have to get my magnifying glass. My eyeglasses are not enough. So let me make a note of that. Link, Shaman's Dream, artist. Okay, so I don't know how that artist managed to do that, but if you've been watching my videos, I was talking for a while about my visual perception getting kind of strange, and so that didn't stop. I just stopped talking about it, but it keeps changing, and I'm wondering if it isn't like being affected by this card, or the other way around or something. It's the strangest thing, because it looks like a blur of just jumble of colors until I, get closer to it. Okay, so I'll probably come back to this, but I thought it was interesting that yesterday I saw, I don't even know what made me look at it, but it was something about a stroke and the way it makes you see stuff. If it's in my history, I'll link it. Stroke vision, I better put that down. But I clicked on it and watched it, and it was saying that one of the, I think, precursors to a stroke is that stuff will just look odd, like familiar. You look at something, you look at it like an illustration, and you'll see objects and they'll look familiar, but like you've never seen them before, which is it just made me think of, sometimes I have dreams that actually end up sometime after I have them, like, happening in my life, which is weird and fun. But yeah, so I had seen that, and that thing about the stroke and how stuff looks kind of normal, but you don't, It was like, it said it looks familiar, but you don't recognize the stuff, which kind of makes sense. Like familiar shape, or like an object that you're familiar with, like a car, but it's not your car, I guess. So that gave me I was having a little difficulty penetrating what this card was supposed to be talking about to me. So I don't think I'm having a stroke, although they do run in my family. I think it's a good diet and alcohol and tobacco consumption thing, which, you know, a lot of those bad habits I cut out a long time ago. So I'm hoping to avoid the whole stroke thing for myself. But I wonder if that isn't kind of what's been happening with like America, because we know that we're human, but we're listening to Orange Jesus call people vermin, and it's such a weird thing. Like, I get it, it's bad. Hitler said it, or Mussolini said it. Those guys didn't like people. They wanted stuff from people, but, and I think Mussolini was very much like Trump is, where he just, a lot of these politicians, they want their egos stroked, and Trump is grosser about it than the rest, because he's less intellectual and more just like feeling ball. Just emotional, like, reaction unit. Did you see about Liz Cheney in her book? She's touring to promote her book, so they're all talking. Everybody that's interviewing her is talking about her saying that he wasn't eating because something didn't go right that he wanted. I forget what it is now, but the hilarious thing was that he came out afterward and said, I wasn't not eating. In fact, I was overeating. It's just like, oh my God, you spaz. Sometimes just keep the quiet parts quiet. Like, I'm not a Trumper by any means, but I'm like, I like to say a patriot for humanity, and the guy, he gets my, I feel bad for the guy, like a dog that has to stay outside in bad weather. Like, that's how I feel about him, I think. Oh, I didn't do my signs while I'm over here shooting off my mouse, so maybe take a look at those, please. But I'm wondering if, moving away from that whole thing I was just talking about, I wonder if we're not having like stroke symptoms in a way with each other, because dehumanizing us, that's an excuse to indulge in some hateful behavior. That's not a reflection, not a true reflection, I don't think, of like movements that are against people. Like, we have a lot of them here. Everywhere has them, I know, but I am here, so that's what I'm talking about. Here in America, United States of. But we're so funny, like, as humans, that we can play this game of making each other separate enough and different enough to hate, like it's like we're something alien to each other, and that's not the case. We can look at dogs. Dogs come in all shapes and sizes and colors, and they have all kinds of patterns on their coats and all kinds of stuff. We have no problem accepting that. Same thing with us humans, but we cannot accept that in each other. Ooh, that one's dark. I don't like that. And that hair, ooh, I don't like it. It doesn't do what mine does, so it's wrong and it's too big and it's like, you understand what I'm saying? Like the differences are negligible or nothing. Just a game we're playing. We've dreamed this crap up. And then we take it all seriously. And yes, people die, and yes, that's serious, but again, playing roles, playing games, it's just so hard not to get like pulled down into it so deep that we forget that it's actually not that serious. Like, it is, but it isn't. Like, we laugh at this stuff. Like, we take it so seriously and get so clenched up, and I just feel like if we're gonna do it, it's good to keep in mind how serious it actually isn't on a level. And I feel like that enables me, at least when I can remember to think of it, to be like, oh, that, I forgot about that. Like, don't have to take it all so seriously. But I do it too. That's why I wasn't here for 2 days. I was having it was like there was stuff going on in my personal life, but it wasn't even like anything was really happening. I was just being affected and being all emotional, and I guess actually causing drama. But hey, I'm working on it, like, I've never wanted to be high maintenance in my life, so it's been a shock to find out that I actually am. I don't like that. But I could not get my attitude properly adjusted. I think, thank you. I was just reminded of seasonal affective disorder, which is, well, you can look it up, but I'll tell you what my interpretation of the definition, as I recall it. I'm not trying to change it. I just don't have the verbatim of it, but it gets dark here where I live in the wintertime because it's rainy. Clouds block out the sun, and the sun, we get so much from it, like the vitamin D, which I'm constantly told I don't have enough of, but I learned last year that no one gets enough of it. Like, even the most healthy person doing all the things for optimum health, no one gets enough. So that really changed my perspective, because every time I heard it, it would piss me off. I'd be like, what the hell do you want from me? Have you seen my chest? I have California woman sun chest. If you don't know what that is, well, if you get a close-up of my chest, it's dry, or not dry, it's baked. I mean, it's been in the sun a lot. Sun skin. Oh God, now I forgot what I was talking about. Well, the not being here. Basically, I could not get my attitude adjusted to the point where, the seasonal the seasonal defective disorder, that's what was wrong with me. Had it for like 2 days. So yeah, cloudy weather all the time, you don't get enough sun, but aside from the vitamin D effects, it just makes you more upbeat and feel happier and better. Like, literally, that's what else it does besides the vitamin D. And it does other stuff too. You can look it up and find it just as easily as I can if you would like to know more details on that particular subject. And so when it goes away for like, how many months is that? Like 6 months? You notice it, and it's funny because I come from Los Angeles originally, Hollywood, whatever, however you want to call it. Sun, though, lots of sun, like all the time. Rarely rains. And when I moved north, a couple of states, rainforest, so that means it's gonna be cloudy. And it didn't affect me for years, and then maybe it was and I didn't realize it, but I certainly wasn't having the same issues other friends of mine from out of state were having as well. Like, I just didn't feel like that was happening with me. And then I've lived here since, well, in this apartment place where I'm at since 2004, but I've lived here longer. I lived here since 1994, actually. So somewhere in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, I was like, oh, okay, now I feel it. But still, I don't know. It's hard to examine yourself when you can't get outside of yourself very well to see what you're doing. So by the time I felt it, it was probably a build-up situation, and it had been happening for a while, but I became aware of it, and so then, the need arose to have to treat it in myself and, like, deal with it and not succumb to depression, because depression sucks. It makes your mind tell you stuff that it's not good advice. So anyway, that is why it's a deal here, and I guess it happens to the native people too. Anyway, you can get a lamp with the right sun thing. Like a growing lamp would work if you got something for your indoor plants, which I want to do that. Anyway, I never even heard of such a thing. I had never heard of seasonal affective disorder before. Affective? Anyway, maybe that's what was happening, because it has been rainy and that, which I actually like it, the rain. Like, it's raining now, and it's the kind of rain that I really enjoy, because I have storm windows in this place, and so they do block out a lot of sound. There's a rooftop, it ends outside my window right there, and I can hear just this continuous downpour sound, which I love it. When I lived in Seattle, oh, I just gave it away. When I lived in Seattle, for it to rain here in the winter, it's got to be at least 40 degrees. So as much as I've acclimated to the temperature, I was able to just have my windows open at this one apartment I had just all the time when it was raining, because I loved the sound of it. Just, I don't know if people are always saying, oh, can you hear the lawnmower outside and stuff, and I can never hear what they think is so noisy. So I'm not gonna hold out my phone to let you try to hear that, but it actually sounds like a shower, kind of. And if you watch YouTube, there's all kinds of rain music you can listen to calm down. So that is why I like it. I'm kind of a cat person with a Chihuahua personality. So that's just a window into like why I wasn't here, but I am back. Ooh, my stomach just flooped, which is a loop-de-loop. And also, there's an emotional component for anyone, really. Well, okay, I just plucked that out of what I was thinking, so that makes probably no sense at all. But I was kind of thinking of myself and everybody else, because the two cards that I pulled from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, and this one has the artist's name like pretty prominently displayed on there. The other deck, the problem I had besides my eyesight was that the name, if I remember correctly, is Italian and polysyllabic, and I'm a little I want to pronounce it correctly, so if I can't see what I'm looking at, I won't do that very well. Anyway, in the Wild Unknown deck, though, I pulled two cards, and they're both water energy cards. The Frog and Swan. He's in a downpour. Yes, I just arbitrarily gendered that a dude, a dude frog. So when I pulled it, it's not much different from what I'm feeling now. And it is that, well, for one thing, this dude's in his element, you know? Like, it's amphibian, I believe that's the right genus. And the water is no thing. Ain't no thing to a frog. They like that. And I guess, so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what's his problem? Because I felt like there was a little bit of, I don't know, like disgruntlement. But it's not really the frogs. I know that it was like coming out of me, that feeling. Not more on that later. None of your business. But, I mean, what is a frog's concerns? Well, I know one big one. I don't know that they would think of it in the same way, being a frog, but pollution, habitat invasion. Oh, used to be, a friend of mine had a house. This person was also from Los Angeles, or from California. Los Angeles County is gigantic, so she lived like 45 minutes away and was still in LA County. Anyway, they had a house in this area north of me, north of Seattle even. And it was a residential neighborhood where she lived, like houses and stuff. And a lot of the places here don't have what I'm very used to back at home, which is sidewalks off of the main streets, like where you get into where there's houses. I'm not talking like apartments, because usually there will be sidewalks around those houses, like homes with driveways and single family type situations. And the reason why I'm explaining it so much is because I did not grow up in one. So, for people like me, just to be clear, homes. But she rented this place, and something we like to do, people that lived there, and she would have a lot of visitors, a lot like myself. So there would be a cast of characters, and we'd have our meal and go out for a walk after dinner in the neighborhood. And at the end of her street was this little swamp area, pondish thing, and it was weird because it was sort of like there was just how it was like on a street, but like there'll be these ditches on the side of the road between the house and the road, which is kind of, I guess, why there's no sidewalk. But at the end of her street, in front of this, like the street would T-bone into another street. So you get to the end of the street and you'd go to this pond, and there were like cattails going out of it. And it was small. I mean, it was probably the size of a compact car. But you get down there, and it was just all of these frogs singing, and you could see the little frogs, like the baby frogs and the bigger frogs, and, well, we'd usually do that in the evening, and that's when they'd sing. And it'd have to be daytime to see them, because I don't know, they were well camouflaged. But there were a lot, and that was just something we did for years. And another interesting frog thing was down this end where I lived, north of where I am currently, but in Tumwater, actually. Oh, I was going to say the home of Oli beer, but I don't even know if they make Olympia beer anymore. Anyway, Tumwater was where this apartment I had was. And I was coming home from work one day, and I turned onto my road, and there was a bigger sort of swamp pond. Well, this was an actual pond. It was, the size of a baseball diamond on like a park. On a park, whatever. But it was a good size. Allergy pill, hold on a second. My sinus is closing up when I talk. Wrong pipe, of course. So, I pull on my street, and the whole street is covered with all these albino frogs. On the road, on the trees, on the fences were chain link, so they weren't hanging on the fence, but they were everywhere, and I was like running them over, and I was all horrified, but I couldn't avoid them. And they were like, the pond was just vomiting up all these frogs. And again, I'm from LA, so as we say there, I ain't never seen no shit like that before. I was just like in La La Land for days. Like, that was something completely unusual for me. I went back to work the next day, and was all excited to tell people, and they're all, oh yeah, I've seen that. I'm just like, seriously? How is that not a big deal? Right now my nose is running. One second, I need to deal with this. Anyway, so yeah, I hadn't thought about all that frog stuff. But yeah, I would say that the disgruntlement is over. Like, they can't even just have a natural frog. They can't just have a natural albino frog explosion and not get all run over and have like buildings all over the habitat. I don't know if they think in quite those ways, but I wonder if it's not more of a message for like us, because I don't know how close anyone has gotten to a frog, but they are a pretty vulnerable creature. Like, they're soft, and they're not built for fighting anything, that's for sure. I mean, I'm sure there's like in their habitat like frog aggression, frog on frog, or some sort of prey. I know that's not a fight though. That's an unfortunate event, because like a frog doesn't really. I guess they have a defense. They could have like some sort of chemical slime coating them. What good's it gonna do to get the raptor all high though before it eats you? I don't know that it's to deflect birds. They can't, they don't have sharp bits, so they need to be protected. They I feel like I want to care for the poor easily punctured frog. And I don't understand this. Look at this guy. Have you ever just really looked at a frog, like all of their features, what in the world brought this form into existence? It's so wonderfully absurd. Like, look at the frog toes. Come on. And I think they're like suction cuppy too. That is a technical term. Okay, I'm gonna just quick read here what it says about the frogs, which is, I don't think anything like what I was saying. Clearing, cleansing, healing. The frog and the water element are almost inseparable. The frog spends its first months of life entirely within this healing element, and then emerges to rest on land. But no matter how earthly the frog becomes, its need for cleansing and rejuvenation is regular. Frogs tend to become overworked and undernourished. So it's vital that such sensitive creatures practice self-care. This card serves as a reminder that water helps us cleanse, forgive, and release. Time to dive in. Frogs aren't meant to carry a heavy load. Nope, they just get squished. When in balance, clear energy and enthusiasm for life. Yay! When out of balance, depleted, running on empty. Disgruntled. To bring it to balance, lake, river, ocean, or bathhouse. Well, sure, it needs moisture. That makes sense. Moisture. Sorry. There was a one of the friends that used to go to the frog pond, that's what we called it. And he used to drive all of us women. Well, I didn't really care. I thought it was funny that it annoyed everyone else, or I'm not sure. I mean, well, he used to say moist a lot, and the way he'd say it, sorry, just got so happy I drooled. The way he'd say it would sort of infuriate the other women there, because of I don't know. How are you around like young men in their late teens? Okay, so the other card I pulled that is a water card is the swan. And swans, I mean, if you want to think about the swan, there's a few ways you could do it. You could think of the ugly duckling story. Does that still get told to kids? Shall I tell it? I don't remember it all exactly, but it was the story of a abandoned swan chick that is adopted by a family of ducks. And so the other ducklings, I believe, make fun of it because it looks different, and it's like a Rudolph the Reindeer story. Total nasty peer pressure, and, you know, being all, you're different and you're separate, so you're stupid, you know, like kids. And then, you know, the swan chick, he doesn't know it's not a duck. He doesn't know that it's a swan. Probably doesn't know what a air quote swan is, you know. It just knows that it is. It just knows I am, you know. So then it grows up, and all of a sudden it turns into this beautiful swan, and they're just ducks. They're just ducks. And then the swan's all majestic and beautiful and huge and graceful. So, and the moral of that story is, I guess, like, don't judge a bird by its cover, because give it some time, it could turn into something beautiful. It's like a Cinderella thing too, you know. It's like but Cinderella was never ugly, and I guess the other moral could be neither was the duckling. Babies are cute. Then fluffy bird babies are really cute. I guess bird peers are assholes. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Some birds are, if you see them interacting with each other. But so are we when we interact with each other. It's the circle of asshole. So, this one is mirroring itself here. And are we liking what we see? I think so. I think I see a little bit of a self-satisfied smirk on that bill. That's okay, though. As long as it's not harming anyone else, it's just looking at itself, which is not a bad thing. I think we could all spend some time in some of that type of contemplation, especially when it comes to the peer pressure that we put upon ourselves, because as you know, whatever our appearance is on the inside, we get to like be real, and we can't always be completely real with ourselves, but we can have our emotions that we're feeling about stuff just let loose like a downpour on the inside, and we can be all soft and vulnerable. And but we like the frogs that we couldn't see in all the reeds and that we know they're there. We just have to like kind of blend in, you know, and hope that we're not the one that gets plucked from the sky and just talon punctured. And I would think that is like social pilloried. Like, you don't want to get dragged out into the public with your emotions. You don't want to be like publicly cracked open for everyone to see. And that's a feeling, you know, I feel like we all have. We are protect what we care about and that we feel vulnerable about fiercely, you know. I had a somewhat embarrassing example. So my person has a good friend that's from Lagos, Nigeria, and I did not realize that babe was just something they commonly call each other, because this is what my person calls me. And this person, I don't know, my person's friend, I don't know. They know each other very well. So I'm talking to this person in Lagos, and he was like, "Hey, babe," and I was like, "What?" And then they revealed that some conversations had been shared, and I was like, "What?" Kathy says, "What?" Because I felt like, why, person, are you telling people our stuff? And they're just all, "It's great between us, we're buddies." And I'm like, it's not just between you, though. I just felt like my vulnerable insides had been spilled all over the place, where people that I don't really know could look at them. I did not like that, but after I found out that babe is just a common greeting, because you know what it said when I looked at it, because I was like, what? He's like, everyone says it. I'm like, everyone who? And I was like, you hold on, I'm gonna go look it up. So I did that, and the first thing it said was, why is another man calling my woman babe? Which is what I felt like. And then they explained that it's a common greeting. And then I calmed down. Then some rain had to fall all over me so I could calm down. Luckily, it was raining all... Jeez, it's been really raining a lot, which is what it normally does here, and that is good. And I just felt like I am not the only one that is like an exploding pin cushion. Because if you look at our politics, I'm sorry, they just crack me up. I know there's a lot of serious stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's very serious to me too, but I'm thinking of, there's two women on the right that continually can't wait to jump in front of a camera and a microphone and vehemently express themselves and just be full of power, and I don't even know. Because, I don't know, they're trying so hard it just looks silly, and then they're trying to express themselves in ways that are not natural to them, because if they were, they wouldn't sound like they were trying so hard, and also be so obviously using words and phrases they're completely concepts, also not familiar, but they know those slogans, they know those ire-raising remarks to make, and God bless them, they really think they're out there doing something. So their actual motive, though, I have to tell you, I know is highly sus, and it's a miracle that more people aren't just accepting the thing that their eyes and ears are telling them. And I'm sure their first reaction is like, what are you, a spy? Like, what, you know, like, what are you, just in there to cause problems? Because boy, doesn't it sure look like that's what they do. They're certainly not doing their jobs. I never hear anything about that, and I know that the one from Colorado is useless, but they're great for cheering you up. Watch one of them make a speech, all of your problems will go away, because it's just comedy. They're so serious and so angry and so Yogi Berra and so wrong. It's just like, you know, if you don't do your homework, that's one of them. Always goes out there to start attacking someone, and then the person will come back with a very mild question. Well, did you this and that and the other thing? And they're like, who, what? Wait, oh, my microphone's not working. I can't hear you. I don't have that information. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Yeah. Babe, why? See? Common greeting. What are you doing, girl? Why are you going out there unprepared? Do you not know? And all these older people that have been doing the job forever, longer than you anyway, what are you doing? Do you not understand the power dynamic and your place in there? I mean, those two got to be prominent, but for all the wrong reasons. So, it makes a wonderful play, though, doesn't it? When you can pull yourself away from the action, you know, when you're not in the scene, kind of lightens everything up. So, I didn't read about what it said about the swan, did I? Nope, I don't think I did. So I'll do that quickly. Effortless creativity, sensitive mystic, elegant power. See, the thing about the swan in the story, hi, I'm breaking away, is, and I don't think they really put it that way, at least I don't recall it being put across in these terms exactly, but the swan was like Zen, you know, like it got its feelings hurt, but it didn't lash out back, you know, it didn't get nasty. And even when it got beautiful, I mean, do birds, I guess when it comes to mating, birds do care about appearances, but otherwise, do they? Like we do? Who knows? But I doubt it. They don't have the same concerns we do. They live in a completely different world, like literally a different world from a human an animal lives in. A swan. We might connote a swan with vanity or beauty or something like that with Kardashians. But they're not that is not their concern. And, you know, we may laugh, some of us, at those women, but they are some of the most successful women out there by our metric of success. I mean, I have to give them props for it, for like making it in this world where actually it is not that easy for women to be as successful as they are. Probably doesn't hurt that they're beautiful, but that is not something they personally took on, which goes back to the swan can be sitting there looking at itself and not even thinking like, oh, I'm so beautiful and graceful and creative. You know, it's like, I'm hungry for a bug is probably what it's thinking, which is beautiful. Reading the book about the swan. The swan represents heightened creativity. In Hindu mythology, the goddess Saraswati, the embodiment of language, creativity, and artistry, rides on the back of this graceful creature. The goddess does? I guess the goddess rides on the back of the graceful creature. The swan is ready to take, like a swan boat? Sorry. I'll get serious. Sure I will. The swan is ready to take us there to the fluid realm of writing, creating, and reflecting. This potent and healing energy is not to be taken for granted or taken lightly. I guess my mood is picked up. What would you say? When the swan card appears, your soul is calling for attention, for solo time. I guess I needed some. I'm not saying I'm a swan or anything. I'm not saying I'm a swan. I'm just saying I needed a day. I needed a mental health day. Yes, it's always all about me. It's the whole mirroring effect. Okay. The swan is ready to take us there, to the fluid realm of writing, creating, and reflecting. This potent and healing energy is not to be taken for granted or taken lightly. When the swan card appears, your soul is calling for attention, for solo time. The self-care. An inner voice is waiting to be heard, and the inner vision is likely to be revealed. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I did decide to not do this actually takes a little bit more than it probably appears, or a lot more, mostly in the form of like brain power, preparation, you know, meditation to sort of align stuff inside of me with what's going to come out in, you know, concert with the cards, I guess you could say. But it's a whole process, you know. It's not just me doing stuff, the events outside of me and the way they affect me and everybody else that I happen to be noticing, that all becomes a part of it. Anyway, I'm all wanting to finish and I'm just gabbling away. Gabble, gabble, hey. This potent and healing energy is not to be taken for granted or taken lightly. When the swan card appears, When the swan card appears, your soul is calling for attention, for solo time. An inner voice is waiting to be heard, an inner vision likely to be revealed. When in balance, infinite creative power. When out of balance, agitated, snippy, lacking vision, to bring into balance solo time writing. Yep, definitely had the snippy. It's not the most beautiful part of my personality, but I am working on it. I have been Get off me. So this mindful, like, I just can't help but think of all of us people, and not just here in America, but sticking to us here in America. We all have like our stuff to worry about, right? And I don't want to like disinclude people that are maybe disincluded for reasons like horrible reasons, like worse than like not being near a polling place, like being held captive by one of our criminals, one of our finest American criminals. You know, one of the ones that collect people and just keep them and do terrible things to them, or collect them and end them and stuff. And we have those. Those are part, like, I don't think that we really consider that element of society and what it radiates, that we all collectively sort of pick up through sort of osmosis, you know, like if it's raining and that energy gets in the air, the water can just carry it wherever, because water will absorb our emotions. Do I need to link the video about the Japanese scientist in the water? I'll do it. I'm just emo water. Scientist. It's a Japanese guy. You will likely, if you're watching this, have already heard about this, but I'll just put it up there because it is fascinating, and it kind of gives us a window, a mace window. It gives us a mace window into how, like, what we think and feel actually like escapes from us like steam and does affect the rest of us. Not just like our voices barking at each other, like having that effect, or some sort of physical thing. There's all these bodies that we have. I'm going to get like well, it is all esoteric. I'm not going to get into it, but they say we have 7 bodies. So we have like a physical body, an emotional body, and all these other ones. I think there's 7, so I can't, the same number of the chakras in our body. Well, anyway, isn't that interesting? You have like an etherical body, so like your ghost body, and there's your astral body. So there's a lot more going on that we're like not consciously thinking of, because on a level we do know about this stuff, we just don't remember it. And they're all affected, and each body is somewhere. Like they're each of them are in its own space. So I haven't even really thought about this too hard, but whatever, like the main us, we'll just be all vain and be like Earth, the only planet where stuff lives and things. I guess I could see us doing that with all of our various bodies, just being kind of all unaware and dopey about it. But body 1 controlling stuff and like making the emotions and all of that happen to all of the other bodies. Well, it's just something to consider. Like, what are you sending out into this physical world? But what are you unconsciously sending out to all of your other bodies that are sending out to their worlds? And what do their worlds look like? Oh, I don't know. Disgust. So, but physical level, okay? What we can all sort of perceive without much artificial amplification, let's say. Like if you just turn your head and see something, what we're seeing on the other side of our eyes may well look like this. Sort of sometimes ill-defined, sometimes crystal clear, if not making 100% of sense. Like, why is all of this jumbled together? Or why is whatever's seeping in causing the jumble to look like this in my head? Or it's like the who, what, and why of affectation from others by others. Deep concept. So I'm gonna finish off and just read what the guidebook has to say about mindful. I just can't get away from the idea of, let's just say, a collection, a plurality, a whole gang of us bunched up together somewhere at a protest, shopping, sports event, concert. In each of our heads, there's going to be some measure of this, while the human one is just operating out there. So we're like kind of disconnected from what's really going on inside. And it just made me think of someone driving impaired. Let me reflect on that. Reading the guidebook. Mindful. Keeping a clear mind. Hurtful thoughts. Groupthink. Ooh, yeah, groupthink. Sticky. The human mind can be so many things. A prison, a latrine, a circus, a temple, a cave. It can be a place of restriction or a place of never-ending expansion. Right now, be careful of where you wander in your mind. The quality of your thoughts is key, as you're in a fertile time for a full manifestation. You want to ensure that the seeds you plant will sprout and flourish into the life you seek to grow. Be mindful not to scatter weeds. Sorry, I feel like that, like I had a deja vu or something there. I glitched. It's easy to be influenced by others right now, too. Ain't that the truth? Especially in our digital age. Word. It's hard to protect yourself from the energy and the sheer amount of information bombarding you 24/7. If you allow all the fear and uncertainty to pollute your mind and emotions, you will fill yourself up with this negativity and then see more of it in the outer world. Yeah, because you'll be crazy spraying that stuff everywhere. Yeah, it gets out of us. Like, with that stupid anger. Shoot! Stay out of gossip and other forms of groupthink. For when you cut another person down to their level, like you cut yourself down to that level, due to their perceived mistakes, or limit them by your envy, you activate lack for yourself. So fill yourself with thoughts of plenty. Imagine your universe unfettered by scarcity and alive with abundant hope and goodness. Be mindful of what your mind is full of and keep the faith. Good brings more good, love more love, gratitude more things to be grateful for. Well, I really am a believer of that last couple of sentences, especially be mindful of what your mind is full of and keep the faith, but really keep mindful of what your mind is full of, because, well, you're manufacturing dark, sticky, nasty thoughts. You are going to have some runoff that's going to get on people. Pollution, actually, and that's unpleasant. Let's not. Let's try to avoid that, shall we? I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but pleasant and nice I enjoy them much more. Thank you and good night. Ooh, I almost did and I almost elbowed my drink over. Bye.